Welcome. I'm Halcyon. This is Hug Nation. It is such a joy to spend this moment with you. Today's topic is the power of support and friends to liberate. The world and our culture can be exceptionally constricting and judgmental. And it is amazing how powerful that judgment can be, how painful it can be to take a risk and then have people knock you down. And I think that kind of loss of innocence that happens when we grow up is when we start to become aware of those judgments, when we start to fear and dread and feel that anxiety and terror of those judging voices, snorts, and those outside judgments can be so much more powerful. It's like the bark is so much worse than the bite, but the bark can sting and can really knock us in line. And unfortunately, our world, our culture, is set up in a way where the power structures would much rather you not stand out, not be exceptionally bright, not be exceptionally different or artistic. The power structures work better when people live within narrow scripts, most of which having to do with being a consumer. And the way our world is set up and has become set up and is getting more set up is that these power structures, the media, are the same people, the same infrastructure, the same businesses, the same corporations are all tied together in the media and in corporate world. And so we have this synergy that happens where the media is motivated to steer you into becoming a consumer within a very strict set of behaviors and purchasing desires, and making purchasing desires massively more important than creative expression. And we get steered into these patterns and beliefs not just by the evil news, but because it is our cultural story, it is our cultural narrative. Well-meaning people that love you will steer you into this. Teachers that are trying to help you succeed in the world will steer you into this because it avoids the judgment. And that judgment can also be tied to not just the looking down the nose and embarrassment of someone thinking ill of you, but also can keep you from having traditional jobs. And this cultural script also steers us into wanting and desiring and needing those cultural or those traditional jobs in order to be measured as success. So the process of growing up in our culture is one of learning what the societal norms are and practicing those to get to a traditional definition of success. And if we're lucky, we might start to question that story, question that narrative, and start to tune into maybe desires that are more a part of our inside, heart-driven truth. But that is exceptionally difficult when we have this cultural story, all the media, all of our marketing steering us towards the scripts that make our capitalist system work. And so we have this judgmental kind of disciplinary voice that when you get too weird, when you get too artistic, when you question the goals that have been given to you, the people who have accepted those things, the people who have bought into the system, will do the work of this corporate structure by judging you and making you feel bad and make you feel embarrassed. And it's powerful. I can remember in being in junior high, my first year there, this one moment when this pretty upperclassman named Kim with beautiful feathered hair asked if she could put blue mascara on me. And I was so thrilled that this pretty girl wanted to talk to me. that I was like, yeah, of course. And as soon as she put it on, this group of people, including my friends, as best as they could be in junior high, it's basically a status quo judgment group, us them kind of group, and as soon as I turned around, I just started getting attacked with laughter and derision, calling me all sorts of names, and I still remember that feeling of being uncool. And, I took this risk. I allowed myself to, follow what seemed like a good idea at the time and learned my lesson in a harsh way that, whoa, don't do something different unless you're willing to take some massive psychological pain from that. And I think we all learn that lesson. And so that is why the power of a support group can be so transformational, can be so liberating. I talk a lot here about Burning Man, because Burning Man was this massive support network that was so supportive of alternate ways of expressing and living. But there are an infinite number of groups, of networks that can be that for you, whether it's your immediate friends and family, whether it is the people you meet at a Comic-Con or a sewing circle, any group of people that supports you as you experiment, as you express, as you try out these impulses that are coming from the inside, that are outside and beyond and different from the cultural scripts. That support network that will lift you up, maybe the most important part of a spiritual practice, until you get to a point of strength where you have enough personal comfort and power and self-love that you can handle those judgmental voices. But that's hard. Someone once made a comment that, man, your friends are so artistic. And my thought was, I don't think they're so artistic more than anyone else. They just support one another's artistic expressions. They avoid the judgment. In most, maybe not most, but in many social circles, if there was a party going on and you picked up a trash can and started going bump, 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 I would guess that many people at the party would be like, and try to knock that person back in line into what the expected behavior is supposed to be. But amongst my friends, and hopefully amongst you and your friends, if you see someone doing that, at the very least, you maybe clear some space so they don't knock anybody as they're playing their song. But maybe you even pick up some spoons and go tang, 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 or oh, and you support and maybe allow that to be what starts your fire going. And having a network of people that will fuel and fan your flames is a powerful, powerful aspect of our personal path. Because there's so many parts about our system that are built to knock you back in line, knock you back in line. I mean, our whole educational system sitting in place, doing the drills. And I get it. It's very difficult to discipline and to educate when you've got 40 students all following their own impulses. It's nearly impossible. But it's also impossible to cultivate the true selves of 40 people while keeping them in line. I think so much of the conflict of the world happens because we have these cultural judgmental paths. And you fall in and you accept and you decide what your team is, what your group is, and then you build up the pride in your team and you act out the judgment of the other team. They're so stupid. They're so whatever. Rather than saying, well, it's not exactly, I don't really want to play a trash can at this party, but I love that they're doing that. I don't really think that that book is a sacred text, but I appreciate that they are following their spiritual path. I don't really agree with those political, economic, policies, but I appreciate that that makes sense to them. I appreciate that team's quarterback and running back, but I'm more of a fan of my home team. Instead we go, they suck! We're the best! America! And judgment is a huge part of what makes that system work, or what makes it powerful, or what makes it this prison that we have to then break out of. And what we're required to break out of it is the support of our network. I look back at things that I've done in my life and that at one point would have been crazy to me, would have been so high risk. But as I developed a network of friends, a community, especially one that embraces and supports creative expression, suddenly being risky and wild and bold is actually celebrated and exalted. And as I dress up in a superhero outfit to go out into the Burning Man community, I get applause and cheers instead of pfft. When I ride a fur bike with pink hair on the city streets of San Diego, some people give me the thumbs up, and other people yell things and knock me down and try to judge me back in line. And I think part of that is because when you are a disciple of the system and the status quo, and you see somebody who is coloring outside the lines, you could almost see that person as flaunting and betraying this social contract that you have agreed to. And if that is okay, the way that they act, you have to kind of face it. Whoa, I may have made some serious compromises. I've had to get up every morning to go to the office. I've had to buy clothes at Nordstrom's. I've had to do all these things because I was taught and told that if we don't do those things, we're deserving of judgment and derision. And so it's a lot easier for me to give out that judgment and derision than to maybe question this contract that I've been living under my whole life. But when we have a support network, it's like a greenhouse that protects us no matter what the environment is, no matter how cold the nights get and the judgmental storms of our culture are. The greenhouse gives us this environment that protects us. It fertilizes us. It allows us to bloom. And once we have that bloom, once we know the hue of our petals and the smell of our fragrance, we can start taking our gifts into the world with a little bit more strength, with a little bit more grounding. Once our roots are strong, then the storms of the world, the judgments of our culture don't knock us down quite so much. That being said, I'll admit that I still feel the sting. I still get that anxious terror feeling when I feel judgment on me. And that's part of a lifelong spiritual practice of building those roots, building that strength, building that confidence. And it's that support group that gives us the strength to lift us up when we do have that weakness. What inspired this whole topic for me was that I went to a friend's birthday party this weekend that was a lip sync theme party. And they had people send in MP3s of the songs that they wanted to perform. And then the whole party got together and we had this incredible show. And I was so impressed with how bold and crazy and out there and enthusiastic my friends were, putting themselves out there in a big, big way in their costumes, in their dances, and it was so inspiring. I felt that their expression, their vibrance liberated me. It's that idea that by you shining your light, you give me permission to shine mine. In some ways, my pink hair in the world is my attempt to color outside the lines and give others permission to do so, to shine my light and give permission for others to do the same. It's been interesting. Lately I've had a number of conversations with people who have, in a very loving way, asked me, have you ever considered maybe finishing this chapter of pink hair? Maybe taking out your plug earrings? Maybe embracing a look that would be less jarring, less repelling to traditional Middle America? And I'll be honest, I have thought about it. But this whole concept of the power of a support network, the power of being our true selves, I feel like so much of what I've been trying to share year after year, the whole intention of these gatherings that we do online once a week is to lift each other up and let each other know that whatever you hear out there, whatever judgments you're hearing, that people who are in tune, people who are living their heart songs want you to be living your heart songs. They don't want you to change or compromise or shape yourself into a more digestible or media-friendly package. They want you to be as wacky or weird as your heart song is singing. And maybe that isn't wacky at all. Maybe that is absolutely traditional and you happen to look and sound and act and work in ways that are right in line with the status quo. Beautiful! As long as it's your true self that is inspiring that. And so when I start to think about questioning who I am in the world because it is not a digestible color palette, whether it's too spicy a dish for a mainstream audience, whew, boy, is that a challenging thought to start chewing on. I want to say thank you to everyone who is supportive of Hug Nation and this community. Thank you for everyone who is supportive of all the people in their life. Having a support group is so important. Being supportive is also so important. Even when we want to protect the people we love from that judgment, we need to remember that our role as ones that love them is not so much to protect them from those judgments, but to give them that alternate perspective of love and support. So thank you for being one of those supporters. Thank you for shining your light. Thank you for fanning the flames of those around you. When we play that role in the world, we encourage this level of truth, this divine expression of true selves that is what life is all about on our personal paths and on our encouragement of all those around us. That is love. That is self-love. That is unconditional love. That is divine love. Thank you. I love you. I'm gonna make up a song right now that's gonna ask you how. Can you watch this and subscribe? And maybe share it with your tribe?